So I'd like to briefly address rape in the Bible, and there are specific rules about it in Deuteronomy chapter 22. There are stories about it throughout the entire Bible, as I've already mentioned in Judges chapter 19, the Levite and his concubine, which is his wife. That's about rape. And if you follow Judges to the end of that story, chapter 21, that's definitely about rape as well, and you can look at that since I haven't really covered that or what that's about. Also the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, which I've already talked about. But right now I'd like to just look at the rules about rape that are in Deuteronomy chapter 22. So, I'm not going to read directly from it, but I wrote some notes for myself, so you can read it directly if you want to get exactly what it says. Basically, it first talks about marriage violations, so a man can accuse his wife of not being a virgin when they were married, and if he, says, hey, my wife wasn't a virgin when I married her, her family has to prove that she was a virgin, and if they can prove that, then the man has to give the woman's father 100 shekels of silver for slandering her, and he must not divorce her as long as he lives. If her family can't prove that she was a virgin when she was married, she must be taken to the door of her father's house and stoned to death by the men of her town. So basically, this doesn't protect her at all. This is to protect her father's property. She goes from belonging to her father to belonging to this man, and if he decides he doesn't like her for whatever reason and doesn't want to be married to her, all he has to say is, she wasn't a virgin, and tell me how they could have proven in biblical times that she was a virgin. And here it mentions the bloody sheet from the first night that they were together or whatever. Lots of women don't bleed when they lose their virginity, so God knows how many innocent virginal women were killed by the men of their town after they lost their virginity to their husband. Anyway, so it goes on to say more rules about rape that don't pertain to married couples. If a man meets a virgin who is engaged to someone else and he sleeps with her, if he rapes an engaged woman, they must both be taken to the gate of the town and stoned to death. The girl because she was in town and did not scream for help, and the man because he violated another man's wife. So you have to think about that too, and it's how many women were raped and simply couldn't overpower their attacker or get anyone to come and help them. And because she was engaged to another man, she's already that man's property. So the man who raped her violated another man's property, and that's why she dies. She dies because she belonged to somebody else and didn't protect his property. Mercifully, if she was raped outside of the town, her attacker dies, but she doesn't because she can scream and no one can hear her because she's outside of town. But then it goes on to say that if a man meets a virgin who is not pledged to be married and he rapes her and they are discovered, he shall pay the girl's father 50 shekels of silver. And he must marry the girl, for he has violated her, and he can never divorce her as long as he lives. So that rule means that any woman who wasn't already pledged to be some other man's property becomes the property of the man that raped her for the rest of her life. And the man has to pay her father to take control of her because her father's losing his property when he does that. That's disgusting. That's really disgusting. There's no justification for that. I don't understand it. And it kind of makes you wonder, you look at the 10 Commandments, there are all these different commandments. 4 of them, the first 4, are about fearing God and worshiping God correctly and not worshiping idols and whatnot, etc., etc. And then there's honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. And then the last one is, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not set your desire on your neighbor's house or land, his manservant or maidservant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So if you actually read the thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife commandment in Deuteronomy chapter 5, that's because you're not supposed to covet his ox or his donkey or his servants either. These are all references to property. So the rules that protect women in the Bible don't protect women. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Don't covet his property. That's what it says. And, if a woman's raped, she has to marry her attacker and belong to him forever. So even in just a hypothetical situation, a man could see some attractive virgin who, for some whatever reason, isn't already engaged to be some other man's property, so he can just take her and rape her, and then she belongs to him forever. I don't know how people can see that this is the word of God. I really don't.